It was an absolute honor to be invited to speak to the Oklahoma Veterans Council today about real estate careers for heroes. The Oklahoma Veterans Council is made up of veterans and all of our state veteran service organizations as they join together to try to make a difference in the lives of Oklahoma veterans and their families. So this is my first time speaking to anybody since I retired. Now I spent 20 years in the military. I was an Air Force officer. I flew an RC-135 rivet joint. I did 101 missions in Iraq, Afghanistan, sensitive reconnaissance operations, and OSW. I retired one November, and when I was a little nervous coming here to speak because I just don't do it very often now that I'm a civilian and I'm not in my military uniform. But I pulled up and Dennis was out in the parking lot from Rolling Thunder, and he said, "Danny," he said, "you're going to come in and talk to a whole bunch of people that are your family." Man, that just immediately made me feel so good. I was honored to be discharged. I did the same as all of you did. I served my country to the best of my ability, and now I've retired. That transition, though, I find it to be really challenging when I talk to vets, and you guys have all served at a different point. The current vets are leaving. Defining success for yourself is hard. What do you want it to be when you get out? And when you go through the transition program, what they do is they teach you how to fill out a resume to go to work for somebody else. Well, to me, there was a gap. I didn't want to go to work for somebody else. I wanted to continue serving. I wanted to continue serving vets. I wanted to start my own business, but nobody. I couldn't find anybody to talk to about how do I do that and what would life look like and could I be successful and how do my skills translate and how do I support my family. So I figured it out, and then I founded Real Estate Careers for Heroes. I help veterans, I help anybody who has a servant's heart start a real estate career. I did it on my own. I'm not asking for any money. If you can spread the word, I appreciate it. I've got a website. I've got a lot of people I've sponsored in. I spoke to probably 100 people in the last 6 months that I've talked to, and most of them find out that it's not for them. They say, "Wait a minute, it's not a fixed income. I can't, it's just not right for me at the time." But then there are a lot of success stories. Just this month, this last month of November, I spoke to 10 different people. One of my good friends, Regina, I call everybody friends I help because you develop pretty good relationships with them. She represented herself buying her own house for her family and got her license, and now has people she's helping start a real estate career and has 3 different clients as she is transitioning out of the military and her husband's a vet. My good friend Sharisa, she closed on 3 houses this week, and she calls me in tears. She said, "Danny, you're walking me through this and helping me get started. This is what allowed us to pay the mortgage each and every month." Wow. Veterans, I believe we're all the same heart. We serve, we have a servant's heart. This is my way of continuing to serve, and it's a small part in people's lives. There was another good story, and this one just broke me down. And when I started this, I thought, well, I'm just going to help veterans transition out of the military. I'm going to talk them about their PCS titles and a little bit of their benefits. And I'm still new. I'm going through the DAV portion of doing my own claim. So I'm experiencing it as I go along. So I'm passing this on as I'm talking to people. Well, the spouses will call me, and they tell me their stories. They say, "Hey, my husband's a Marine. He's deployed 7 times. He's at 17 years in. And I can't tell him this, but I know what's going to happen. He's going to hit 20 years, and he's going to feel trapped. Unless I figure out a way to carry some of my family's financial burden, I want him to have the option to retire if he wants to." And that's what I'm finding is the spouses are stepping up, saying they need to figure out how to carry some of their financial burden, because when people are moving around the country, the spouses, it's hard for them to have a job. My wife, it was hard. We moved around the country and just transferring licenses. There's challenges along the way of how do you carry some of the financial burden? Well, within real estate, I figured that out. And I figured out how to teach spouses how to move and represent themselves and moving around the country. And they can represent themselves and buying and selling their own houses and save a lot of money for their families. And it's part of the transition. So this is what I'm doing right now. I was thrilled to be asked to come speak about it. I know it's not, it's at the beginning of people's careers. I talk to people about starting earlier, and that's if I had one regret doing myself, is don't wait until you're a year out before you start retiring. Really define success early in that transition. Come up with a plan, come up with some mentor, and then figure out if that's for you. But start early, and then have a plan so that you hit the ground running. It's realestatecareersforheroes.com. I came up with that myself. My wife and I were sitting and saying, there's a gap. There's a lot of support available, but if you want to go into real estate or be an entrepreneur, there's a little bit of a gap. And in that gap is just something that I thought, well, I'm going to try to fix it and do as much as I can to help other people continue serving just in a different way.